I wanted to create this video so that I can share what I've learned about this site and how to be successful at taking off, getting some lift, and being able to cross over to El Cap, play a little bit on the Rockpile, and then head back safely to Amen Ridge to scratch back up into altitude and being able to take a safe landing exactly where you started, which is about a 25-kilometer flight or so, and is going to take you to heights to a little over 3,000 feet. So because it's a high wind area, I do recommend following the method that I've seen the locals do here. I did learn in Colombia, where there was no wind in the season when I was there, which was very safe and easy to learn. And then when I arrived here, it was a lot more wind, and so you saw how I cauliflowered the kite, which leaving the middle of your kite exposed is really the right way to do it. Here there was someone who had dropped a phone.
You got a phone?
Yeah, I'm gonna need, let me repack this. Can you do me a favor and help grab it?
Yeah.
Alright, so I'll just rock and roll it.
Thank you so much, man.
Yep, have a good one. So in addition to having the cauliflowered kite where the middle of the kite is well centered, I also learned from the locals that having your harness still connected to your kite when it's inside its concertina bag, never unclipping them, makes it a lot easier in high wind conditions, because you're essentially stepping into a harness that's already all hooked up. So it's safer, you can inspect it, and also where in the high winds you're going to have less trouble getting connected because you don't even have to deal with that. And definitely waiting for the right conditions. Don't want to take off in too strong or in not strong enough, because that's what can happen. You know, if the wind's not strong enough or if you don't run right, it's normal to fail sometimes. It's okay. So just keep trying, and once you have that good lift, make sure that you control your wing properly, everything looks good before you take off, and then it's really a run straight forward, and there will often be pretty good lift quite immediately. It's an exhilarating feeling. I love this site, and with some good lift here, you know, I'll head out straight a little bit, I'll get settled in, and then I actually like to head pretty quickly over to the right. But, you know, first taking in a little bit forward. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to aim over to Amen Ridge, which you can see on the right hand of the screen pretty quickly. I'm going to go there. I like to first get forward a little to where I'm going to be kind of right over this little ridge that you see in the middle of the screen right there, where it goes from steeper to less steep and then heads back up to the right. So right where my feet are, I like to be kind of right above that. I feel like there's typically pretty good lift right around here because the air is blowing in mostly from the west, and so it comes up the mountain and creates this ridge lift. And between the cutoff on the left and then that rocky area on the right, where it then becomes less steep again, that's kind of the happy zone if you're at this height. Oftentimes, obviously it's not always true, but that has worked pretty well for me. And so you can see Amen Ridge is right in front of me. It's this grassy area that doesn't have bushes, and I'm about to come over it. And here, usually this flank of the mountain is catching air really well, and I'm typically going to have some pretty good lift. I'm going to be really careful to not go past the ridge because I don't want to get caught in the rotor. And right above it right here, as you can see, there's typically going to be really good lift. So I like to take out my speed bar a little bit later because I don't like running with it when I'm at takeoff. Just want to make sure that you Velcro that real nice. And it's kind of nice. Here I'm just gaining some good altitude, and I'm going to be able to do a loop back over to the left. But you can see this was a really solid day, so the camera makes it look a little more amazing than it is, but the lift was really good, definitely, on this day. And so I'm heading back in this direction, doing a lap, and typically I'm going to expect staying a little bit more left to keep up with the wind that's pushing the air. I'm usually going to get some good lift over here. And sometimes heading out towards the valley is going to be good lift. But of course, you never really know what you're going to find until you're in the air. And I've learned that I can't be too specific about exactly what I'm doing because the air moves around so much. But here I really got a great view from where I am already, and this alone makes Blossom an incredible experience. Regardless of the goal of getting over to El Cap, it's just an incredible place to soar around with. I have found like fairly consistent lift. It's pretty good. And I'm going to accelerate a little bit here, but I do want to point out there's a spot called Thumper, which is right there, right under my feet, that little bump that you saw with the shade. That one is the house thermal. You really want to be high up, like I am here, to catch it safely. And I did indeed catch it quite nicely here, and that ended up being the thermal that got the altitude that I wanted. And don't be close to Thumper. Don't be above Thumper when you're down low, especially in that initial lap where you're heading over to Amen Ridge and back, because can be a really punchy thermal, and a lot of people have gotten hurt here. So here I am. I've gotten the altitude that I wanted. I believe that I was about 2,300 feet here. Oftentimes we say 25 is a really good number. Some people have crossed lower. I think high performance wings and a pod. Some people have crossed over as low as 1,900, but I really would not recommend that. I think 25 is a good number, and in this case, I went with about 23, with the expectation that I would probably get some lift over this ridge and these houses, which did work out. I basically sustained my height for a good time here. But keep in mind, this was a day where the thermals were quite good, and in fact the day ended in really good glass off. But the wind wasn't too strong, so I felt safer heading in this direction. If the wind is stronger, it can be difficult to come back once you're over the houses like this. And these are some really nice houses, so good to, like anywhere else, be respectful of the homeowners who are here. Don't want to go landing on their roof, even though some of these do have larger backyards, which is reassuring. Nonetheless, it would be really irresponsible to head back here with not enough altitude, because you can easily get caught behind the rotor. You can see how big that slope is right behind me where we started. And that's a really, really sizable rotor that it creates. And so try to avoid having to land on that road over there. Although I will admit that did happen to me the other day. So here we are. We're heading straight towards El Cap. And one of the reasons why it's so important to be high up, as you'll see later, is because there are some power lines, and you really want to cross with at least, I would say, 150 feet above the power lines when you get there, and it can be hard to gauge what the distance is going to be that you need to cover with the altitude you have. Luckily, this is mostly downwind, which definitely helps. But at this point, I decided to put my foot on bar because I found that there often can be a little bit of sink in this valley. And even though this is one of the best views of the entire trip, it's definitely, you want to make it across, because once you get to that mountain, as you'll see, I've often found that there's pretty good lift. And here on the left corner, you could see the power line right there. So that helps you kind of gauge where that's at. And then staying on the left side here. So I wouldn't want to head over to the right where there probably wouldn't be lift and maybe some rotor. But over here where I'm headed, it turns pretty quickly into an escalator. And so it's time when, I get to really take in the view and essentially scratch the mountain without getting too close, because it is pretty rocky, and the thermals can be really good right here. Actually, I mean, it's a ridge lift, I guess, but it's really nice. I love getting close to be able to see the landscape. In fact, recently I saw it was maybe like a deer, I believe, that was hopping down there, and here I am just silently flying over it, and yeah, it's really, really gorgeous over here. And in terms of the flight plan, the goal here is to do some laps in front of the mountain and keep an eye out for those good thermals that can take you up faster than you think. Sometimes it's not always scratching the mountain that you get the best thermal. Sometimes they're a little bit farther out, and just actually going and grabbing that thermal and keeping the keeping the right distance, like feeling it through the air, is gonna get you real high real fast. It's quite the time warp. Gotta love it. So then the goal is to continue ridge soaring here and maintaining that altitude, heading over towards the Rockpile. So following this line, going kind of west-northwest towards that big rock that you see ahead, and the Rockpile is actually behind it, just pointing up at it with my foot right there. And that is where you are headed. It often gets a little colder in this altitude, so that's why I like to cinch down my pants a little bit. And this is also a place where you could be playing around. You could go back and forth, and I think this is a more reliable place to practice like big ears and 360s and all that. As long as you're heading over to the left a little bit over there, you can see there's a lot more space. Much more space, and so you can have some good distance to play around, and then you can always head back towards this ridge and come in for more altitude. So in this case, that's exactly what I did. I came back for more altitude. I really wanted to get high up, and so finding that good lift and just continuing to enjoy all of this ridge lift and taking in this incredible view. And once I get a little bit above the ridge, I found that the lift often gets kind of even better. It's really something. And I was able to get a really good thermal right around here. It took me nice and high. And look at those views. I think I've made it up to about 35. Right around here. That's about the highest that I've gone so far. The Rockpile, it's also possible to get higher, which we will head over to in just a second here after we enjoy this nice view. So yeah, it's time to head over, and really always keeping that rule of thumb that you want to be able to see the slope when you're soaring above the ridge, because the second you can't see the slope anymore, you might start getting caught in a rotor. So always safer to be above the slope rather than behind it. And if you are behind it, really keep that angle to where you can see it. I have heard up to 5 times the height of the slope can be the size of the rotor. So you really don't want to mess around. Like, you wouldn't head straight right there where that camera just pointed. Like, I wouldn't go right there on the left over that big plane, because it's it's so steep to the right. I'm sure there's a really sizable rotor, and I wouldn't want to mess with that. Yeah, I caught a pretty good thermal here, and I was able to circle in it and get some good altitude. And at some point, it might have been right here, I decided to head over for the Rockpile. And it's a pretty straight line over towards that big rock right in front. The Rockpile is actually the formation behind that, but this is a good landmark that you can see from really far away. Often gets some really good lift, so it just makes this whole part of the ride very pleasant and kind of relaxed, where you're ridge soaring, staying safe to where you can see that slope on the left, and heading over towards this rock formation in front of me. So once again, I'm careful about rotor, and then also being mindful of the direction of the wind. It's basically coming from where the sun is setting, and so I wouldn't want to head over to the right, where I would get caught behind the rotor. Instead, I like to stay kind of left here and approach it from a nice and safe angle. All right, because that wind is kind of coming from my left, and so this whole area to my right I feel would be somewhat dangerous to get into. And it's really cool. You can see the road right there. That's the hiking trail. It's one of the longest, most arduous hikes in all of San Diego County. I believe it's 16 miles, just about I think it's the largest elevation you can get. In order to get bigger, you'd have to do Cactus to Clouds if you really want to go all the way, or something else on San Jacinto, which is pretty far from here actually. So this is a sizable mountain and an incredible place. And so here I'm kind of circling around, and the Rockpile that's it right there. That's that little peak that I'm heading towards that you can see in the middle of the screen now. And often you'll find some eagles and other birds of prey soaring around here, and it's just really something. So I was able to find some good lift right around here. You can see there's little birds scratching way closer to the rock. And right around this rock, and just left of it, is where I often find some good lift. So you can see that bird is really showing the way. I'm basically doing a pretty similar trajectory. I'm just keeping it a little bit safer. I'm not a bird, and I can't land that easily on big scary rocks. I would not want to be hitting those. And over to the left, oftentimes the wind will be coming a little bit from the left. So right around here also feels pretty safe. Once again, the wind is coming about from where the sun is, and it's pure joy. So here I was able to circle around for a while and keep working that best spot, and eventually I got higher and higher until I was above the summit. And this is a little bit of work to get there, but I was able to get above the summit, which puts me in a good position once I want to head back home. But on this day I wasn't really able to get much higher than that. So at this point I felt like, all right, this is a good time to head back and get safely back towards where I started over at Blossom. And here I would say there isn't really much of a secret that I've discovered. I'd be really open if someone else has some good advice on where to find more lift along the way. My experience has been that it's pretty much a sledder from here almost all the way home. I think right around here, every now and then I'll get a tiny little bump, but nothing really to write home about. I haven't dared head over to the right. I did do that the other day, actually. It was very different conditions. It was all pressure-based and cloudy the other day when I headed over to the right. And that did not work out well for me. I got a tremendous amount of sink last time I tried that, and I had to head back over to El Cap, where I was doing the escalator earlier. to save it. And here you can see the crossing of the valley. I really like to have my foot on bar here because it's a long crossing. It's mostly upwind, kind of crabbing over to the left, and there can be some sink in the valley. Around here, it starts to pick up lift again. So if I'm getting some lift right around when I get here, I feel really safe, because the goal is to get over to Amen Ridge right in front of me there with enough altitude that I can actually catch that ridge lift. And I think that's why they call it Amen, because you really feel blessed when you make it here and you are actually high enough to not have to land down low and figure out something. This isn't the guide on, the rules and where to land and all that. There's a great video on the official website, the local paragliding website. But this is more about the experience. And so you can see here, once again, great escalator, just fantastic lift. Once you get here, it feels incredible. As long as you're coming back early enough and there's plenty of sun, this is a really fantastically reliable way to get back up. And you can see Thumper on the right there, and that big shadow. You don't want to get anywhere near that thing unless you're way high up and above it. But it has pretty good lift right here. I think I recorded 5 meters per second right there in that moment. And so from here on, I was able to kick back into gear, and essentially at this point, I'm going for the landing. So I'm trusting that there's significant lift here, and then I'm going to be able to head over and land. And look, someone just attempted landing right there. And I'm going to tell you, it is not easy to land here. You can see I'm gaining so much right here. The idea of landing would have been nice, and if there hadn't been so much ridge lift here, that would have been a perfect approach. But this is definitely not going to happen on this pass. I came over, and I feel like I'm just getting higher and higher as I get towards this landing zone. So that did not happen for me, and came over this way, trying to do some S-turns, keep it nice and safe. But once again, it's pretty good lift here. So I don't think that I'm going to be the person to give you the best beta on landing at this site. I'm still fairly new to it. But coming in at this angle is a way to do it. Someone recently explained to me that this isn't the safest because I'm taking advantage of the rotor a little bit, and that's risky. That's really some edge play there of trying to use rotor to come down. There is a safer way to do this where you come in from the right and you're staying in front the whole time. But I have succeeded at landing several times this way, but I've been a little slapped on the hand for doing that. And you can see, even with the rotor, I just got so much lift right there. It's not so easy. So trying again and again, and I know that eventually I got it. I can't quite remember how many attempts I took. And once again, there are people who've told me like, hey, this is really not the best way to do this, because it can feel like you're gonna come down. And if you were to come down too soon, right around where I was a second ago there, that would not be great. So here I started pumping my wing. This is a method that I witnessed someone doing, and I have been using it since. Little pumping of the wing, I believe, will give it a little bit less air and helps come down. And so I was really happy to come down, but then I got pulled over to the right. I was like, what is going on? Why is this happening? This is not what I wanted. And luckily, I didn't get hurt. It's just wing in the bush. It's it's not the most ideal, obviously. And so I'm sure, leave a comment if you think it's silly that I am posting a tutorial video when I'm clearly, I think I'm about 60 flights in total. I learned in Colombia, and I learned off season, as I shared, so it was a lot easier. Honestly, it was all sledders with 1,400 meters of elevation drop over to like a football field landing zone next to a river down in Jericho. Really, really nice. Here it's different conditions. You're dealing with bushes, dirt, lots of wind. I'm starting to lose track of how many times I've untangled some bushes out of my wing, and but it is what it is, and it's pretty great. I mean, it's totally worth it. It's not the Alps, this is San Diego, and it's funny because the San Diego rock climbers also were some of the big pioneers. I think San Diego just kind of puts people in sometimes a bit of a challenging situation. Here we got Charles, who came and landed, and I think he came in real clean there. I'm jealous. The man knows what he's doing. That was clean.
Hey, every once in a while I get lucky. Doesn't try.
I'm actually thinking of going for a second try right now. Yeah. So I got ready again, set my wing up, which wasn't too hard, but I did have some interesting experience here when I went for my takeoff. It was looking really good, and somehow I got turned around and no.
You gonna fly it back over, or?
If you teach me how.
Well, yeah, that's how. But you got to kind of commit to it. I'd grab it, way up and just really reef it. If you're might be better to fly the other tip over now, the way it's sitting.
Okay.
Oh, well, kind of. I guess it's a ball now, so.
With Charles' help, I was able to get back into position, and once I had my wing facing the right direction and I removed the kink from crossing it over, I was pretty much ready to take another attempt. And yeah, here we go. Get ready, get set, and action. Come on. So my goal for the second flight really was mainly to just log another flight and get more takeoffs and landings practice. Once again, at the time of the making of this video, I have about 60 flights under my wing, and I really wanted to take advantage of the glass off. And you will see that the glass off turned out to be quite amazing. So this flight started off kind of normal, really similar. You can see I'm following the same path, a little bit lower than last time, really steering clear of thumper on the left there. I'd much rather scratch the ridge where I feel safe and come up here and get that nice ridge lift, and that worked out real well. Kind of following my routine, coming back over. I think this was exactly last time where I got 5 meters per second of lift. So I'm like hoping I'm gonna find that, and yep, there it is. There's a nice lift right there. Got a really good bump, and I'm coming up to be at about the height of the higher takeoff, and here I'm coming towards what we call the bailout. So in this video I had taken off at the bailout, but here you can see on the right, that's the higher takeoff. That's safer, especially if you're new to the site, because if you don't get lift, you can always head back to bailout. And once again, staying clear of thumper on the left there, and trying to work this little corner right there. You can see there's often a really good lift right here on this corner. So that's a go-to for me. And what started off as, having to kind of work for the lift turned into finding quite a bit of lift. So here I wanted to come over and safely see if I can flirt with the landing, because my goal was to land pretty soon. I don't want to get too far behind that ridge, because I have been caught in that rotor and it's not fun. So I'm really trying to do some S-turns right above what feels like the safe zone for the amount of wind that's here. If it were windier, I wouldn't even get that far back, because it is possible to get pushed back behind into the rotor. And you'll see that my landing attempt actually landed me a pretty good thermal. And so at this point I'm like, you know what, like, I'm pretty high up. Let's do some 360s here. And this is honestly the first time that I was able to do 360s since I came back to the US from learning in Colombia. Just because I didn't have opportunities where there was so much lift. But here, you can see at the end of the 360, I'm pretty much higher than before it. So there was quite an impressive thermal that I was turning around there. And then it just felt like everything was picking up. No matter where I went, I was just going up and up and up. And next thing you know, I'm kind of on the top of the world. And so I'm like, well, hey, why not do some more 360s? I mean, I've got some altitude to kill here. And so, yeah, it was a really good time. Just pure play. And I felt like no matter how much I turned, I just couldn't lose altitude. But no clouds, no storm, pretty soft wind. This is just what I would consider pure glass off joy. There's really not much that I had to do here. I just was enjoying myself, taking in the view and feeling like the world was teeny tiny right below me. And eventually, though, I did feel like, okay, I really do want to actually lose some altitude. So the 360s were half for fun and half to actually not get so high that I'm never going to make it to landing. And so I made another approach for landing here, trying to head back towards that lower landing zone. Because my goal at this point, do little turnovers here and there. My goal at this point is to land, and I do want to land at the lower section. But once again, just gaining. And yeah, really, really good time. And well, the thing is, I was having so much fun out here, and I wasn't really paying attention to my camera because, well, hey, you shouldn't be fussing around with technology when you're up there. This is the time for yourself, and it's definitely not a safe time to be playing around with stuff. So this is about the end of my video, and I hope that you enjoyed watching. I certainly am really grateful to be part of this sport, this community, to live here in San Diego and have such amazing local flying. And I encourage everyone to be safe out there, and just grateful that you were able to watch the video.